Did Takeo predict the future of the zombie storyline in Black Ops 3, or rather did he tell us the past of the zombie storyline in Kino Der Toten? Here's why I say this. I'm gonna just start it off from the top. So let's just talk about the name of the map. The name of the map is Shadows of Evil. And we do know that the mysterious man is called the Shadow Man. And you see, the reason I think that this is an interesting underlining name for the map, Shadows of Evil, is because it's not Shadow of Evil, it's Shadows, multiple. And if the mystery man is called the Shadow Man, and if we know that there's multiple shadows, then that means that there are multiple shadow men. And that is actually true. If you go to Kino Der Toten, we know there are a bunch of those shadow men everywhere. There's like 5 upstairs in this room over here if you go in no clip mode, and we have one of them on the floor right here and one of them right next to our 4 characters. We also have one in the map 5, so there are many shadows of evil, as we can see. Very interesting way they named the map. But why is all this important? I think all of this is important because if you're playing Kino Der Toten and you're playing as Takeo and you go up to one of the mysterious shadow men or one of the like missing images of the men and you press the action button, Takeo says this.
Maybe what was is no more, but shall be again.
Maybe what was is no more, but shall be again. I'm explaining this quote a little bit later. Now you might be saying that these are 2 completely different shadow men. The one in Shadows of Evil is a completely different guy from the one in Kino Der Toten, and I can understand that, but for all we know, this could be the same person. And you're probably saying that they're different people because one of them is wearing a hat and one of them is not. For all we know, this could be the same guy because you have to keep the time period in mind. Shadows of Evil takes place in the 1940s, and in the 1940s, mobster and gangster activity was very popular, and the hat was the mobster or gangster type of uniform. But Kino Der Toten takes place in the 1960s. In the 1960s, the mobster activity actually died down a little, and the mobster hat was not something that people would wear anymore in the 1960s time period. So for all we know, this could be a picture of the same guy, but it's updated and he's just not wearing the hat for all we know. And we're just gonna stick to that for this theory, just for this video. In fact, even if you Google the mobster era, something that will pop up is Al Capone's lifetime, and Al Capone was a huge influence on the whole mobster and gangster activities. In fact, Al Capone gained his mobster title throughout the 1920s through the 1930s, and it continued on through the 1940s in Chicago. So Al Capone lived in from between 1899 to 1947. So he died in the 1940s. So the 1940s was the last decade where mobster activity was extremely popular. Then after that, it kind of died down. So that would probably explain why, if this is the same man in his picture in the 1960s in Kino Der Toten, he is no longer wearing the mobster hat, because the mobster hat was not as big as a thing in the 1960s. Now I feel like the first thing we should do is kind of analyze the symbolisms of the placement of the poster. Well, first of all, here we have Richthofen, and he's like the big poster on the side of the wall, while the other characters are all together on a different wall. And that symbolizes that Richthofen is kind of greater, and he's like in control of the zombies basically, and he's having a rise to power, while the other characters are on the same baseline and they're on the same wall, symbolizing that they're on the same level, while Richthofen is on a greater level because he has his own wall in his own bigger picture. Now if you look right across from Richthofen's picture, you see the mystery man or the shadow man, and you see that his image had its own wall also, much like Richthofen. So if having your own wall symbolizes that you are different from the other characters and that you are on a greater level because you are on a different wall, then from that tells us that the mystery man was on a different level because his picture was on a different wall from the other characters, but it fell off. Now his image falling off symbolizes his fall from power, basically his downfall. Now this may mean that he was at once in power, but his picture falling off symbolizes his fall from power. After all, Takeo did say, maybe what was is no more, but shall be again. Maybe the shadow man or the mystery man in power he was in power, but is no more, which is why his picture is now on the regular baseline with all the other normal characters. So now he's on the same level because of his downfall or his loss of power, but shall be again. He may again rise to power. So according to this theory, the Shadow Man did have some type of power in the past, and we do know from everything that we have collected from the Shadows of Evil trailer that the Shadow Man is not like the regular 4 characters on the map, and that he has some type of controlling power over them, and that he actually might be the demonic announcer for the map. So that just further supports the theory that yes, the Shadow Man at one point did have power, and in fact we will have to find out until Black Ops 3 comes out, but most likely the Shadow Man may be the demonic announcer, or at least have some type of control over the 4 characters in some type of way. So basically, to recap, if your image is on a different wall, that symbolizes superiority and power. So Richtofen's face being on a different wall was basically foreshadowing that Richtofen was going to have a rise to power and control the zombies, which at the time when Kino Der Toten came out, we actually did not know that Richtofen was going to end up controlling the zombies. So the Shadow Man's face being on a different wall but falling off represents part of Takeo's quote, maybe what was is no more. Maybe the Shadow Man's power was but is no more, which is symbolized through his image falling off of the different wall, and the different wall represents power, which is why now his image is with the regular characters on the regular wall, but Takeo says, but shall be again. So maybe the Shadow Man will have a rise to power after Kino Der Toten in a future map that we haven't seen yet. So if the Shadow Man had power in the past but lost his power, why did the Shadow Man lose his power? What happened to him? That's a good question to ask. So maybe in the Shadows of Evil Easter egg, you will have to take down the Shadow Man, which causes him to lose his power, and that's part of the Easter egg. So that's maybe why Takeo says that the Shadow Man or the Mystery Man basically lost his power. We're gonna have to find out when Black Ops 3 comes out, and we're gonna have to do the Shadows of Evil Easter egg to see if that is the reason why. Now, we do know that Kino Der Toten takes place in the year 1963, and we do know that Shadows of Evil takes place in the 1940s. So Takeo saying maybe what was is no more but shall be again. Maybe what was in the past, saying that the Shadow Man did have power in the past, that would make sense because he's talking from 1963, talking about the 1940s, if he's making a reference to Shadows of Evil. After all, Treyarch did say when they were talking about Black Ops 3 zombies that there are so many zombies Easter eggs in the past that could have gave us so many hints to the future Black Ops 3 zombies maps, but we still haven't figured them out yet. Now remember, guys, this is just an interesting theory that I put together, and this clip that you just watched right now is actually a clip from my upcoming video, 5 things you may have not noticed about Shadows of Evil. Now, it's not going to be 5 things number 7, it's more like a side video, and in fact, I'm probably not even going to put this one on the 5 things you did not know about zombies playlist, but I will make it interesting. But the reason I don't want to put it on the playlist is because usually those are like my best videos, and this one, since we don't know too much about Shadows of Evil yet, all we saw is really like a 2-minute and 30-second trailer, so we don't know too much about the map, so I don't want to officially call it 5 things you did not know about Shadows of Evil because the map's not even out yet, so how can I even say that? But don't worry, I will make the video interesting, but I'm just not going to put it on the official 5 things playlist. This video that you just watched right now was just a clip of it and just a sneak peek, so catch a full video. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace!